the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2003 animated series. One of the best things to happen to this animated series was that it was co-produced by Mirage Studios, which meant this series was much more closer to the original material from the Mirage comic books. And because of this cartoon felt more darker, more edgy, and more gritty than any previous TV adaptation that had come before it. But at the same time, they did manage to keep it light and fun. It was just a perfect mix, and this show saw the revival of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as a Saturday morning cartoon favourite.
Ninja Turtles, Saturday, February 8th, 10:30 a.m., only in the Fox Box.
Now, I was 20 years old at the time when this first aired, and I was really looking forward to seeing a new Ninja Turtles cartoon on our screens after being disappointed with the Next Mutation that came previously and all the other stuff we got in between. And I remember being so pleased with the first episode. Now, as the episode starts, you see that the Turtles are all cornered in an alley by the Purple Dragon Gang. Now, this is exactly how the original comic book started. Even the dialogue is the same until they actually jump into action and the fighting starts, and I love this. Already we had complete loyalty to the comic books. Finally, once again, the powers that be seem to be doing something right. Now, at this particular time in my life, I worked in a toy shop, and I remember how great it was to see these brand new Ninja Turtle action figures arrive in stock, and I thought, this is the Ninja Turtles for a new generation. Like, just as I had enjoyed them back in 1987, now it was time for a new generation of kids to enjoy this show. And if I'm totally honest, I also felt like a kid again. I was very excited about this, and I couldn't wait to see the new episode. I mean, I remember placing these toys on the shelves, pricing them up and putting them on the shelves for other kids to buy, and just remembering my toys that I had in the past and how different they look now and how much better they look. The first major difference was the characters in this series. They were different to the older cartoon. They were more in line with the comic books. Mikey is like the wise guy, the wise cracking guy, funny, cocky, childish, and loves playing pranks. Raphael is changed the most in this. You remember in the 1987 cartoon, he was the one always cracking jokes. He was more or less like Mikey in that aspect. In this adaptation, he has a very fiery, explosive temper, just like in the comic books, but he is also shown to have a caring and loving side to him as well. And then we have Leonardo, who is super serious and dedicated to his training and takes failure to heart. Not really that much difference to the 1987 cartoon, really. He was always super serious about his training, always the leader, and he was always worried about his leadership techniques, but make no mistake, this is the more serious, darker version of Leonardo than the 87 cartoon series. And then we have Donatello, who is still the inventor, although his inventions are not as far-fetched as he was in the 1987 series. He is portrayed as being very clever and probably the man with a plan. If they need some kind of plan of attack for the mission, he's the guy they always turn to, and he can be quiet at times as well. Now, the episodes see a very similar path to which the comic books took. We see them take on the Shredder and the Purple Dragon Gang in the streets and on the rooftops of New York, and we also get to see episodes featuring the farmhouse. We get to see episodes featuring the Turtles in space and alternate realities, the past and the future, just like in the comic books. And just as in the comic books, we also get to see some comic book favourites, characters such as the Fugitoid, who was a creation of Kevin and Peter before they even dreamed up the Ninja Turtle cartoon. He was introduced into the Ninja Turtles franchise, the Triceratons, the Utrons, and loads more. Another great thing about this show is the design. Even Peter Laird has said he has never been keen on the 1987 Turtles design. He thought they looked inflatable, but in this version they look solid. They don't look like a joke, they don't look like cartoon characters, they look like big, muscular Ninja Turtles. And another nice addition was how their eyes were just white slits. No pupils, just white slits. Once again, just like in the comic book, which was another nice addition. The background images in the cartoons were also dark and gritty, just like the comic books, and the Turtles kept to the shadows, unlike the 1987 series where they may just pop down the street and order a pizza. Now, all that being said, I think around about season 5 they did actually tone down the violence and some of the themes of the show, and I think this was because some deemed the first few seasons probably a little bit too violent for kids. Another character is drastically changed in this cartoon series. In this cartoon version, the Shredder is not human. He is an alien Utron in a Shredder robot body, who has actually taken on the persona of a Rokusaki from centuries ago. But we didn't actually find that out until much later into the TV series when Shredder and Leonardo were having a fight on a rooftop and Leonardo actually sliced off the Shredder's head. Now I can tell you now that is something that you would never have seen in the 1987 TV series. No way you would never have seen 1987 Leonardo cut off Shredder's head. Anyway, we think it's over and the Shredder's dead, but just before the episode ends, the Shredder stands and picks up his severed head and walks away with it through the flames. And then we learn later that he's a neutron. He's a bit like Krang was in the 1987 series. He's like an alien brain that sits in the stomach of the Shredder body. So that right there was a big change. They've kind of combined the two characters of the 1987 series and mashed them into one. The series actually ran for quite some time. It was finally cancelled in 2008. But that wouldn't be the last we would see of the Ninja Turtles, because in 2009 we were treated to something very special. Turtles Forever, I believe, was broadcast in segments on Nickelodeon and then eventually was released to DVD. This movie really was a treat. You see what they did? They took the Ninja Turtles from the 1987 cartoon and they took the Ninja Turtles from the 2003 series, which we just spoke about, and they put them both into their own animated film. Now, how did they do that? You see, in this movie, the Ninja Turtles from 1987 series are accidentally transported to the dimension or reality where the 2003 Turtles exist. As the episode starts, we see the 1987 Turtles try to stop the 2003 Purple Dragon gang, and they fail and they get captured. After seeing CCTV footage of this fight on the news, the 2003 Ninja Turtles go to the Purple Dragon's hideout and rescue the 1987 Turtles. Meanwhile, the 1987 Shredder and Krang bring the Technodrome to the 2003 universe. Immediately, Shredder from the 1987 universe tries to track down the 2003 universe's Shredder, who, as you may remember, is a neutron. The 1987 Shredder does this by using some kind of ridiculous Technodrome technology and simply finds the 2003 Shredder light years away from Earth, frozen in a floating in like an iceberg in space. Now I didn't actually see all of the 2003 episodes, but I presume that the Shredder was defeated by the Ninja Turtles and this is what ultimately happened to him. And so the 2003 Shredder is transported to the Technodrome, and it's not long before the 2003 Shredder takes over the show and remodifies the entire 1987 foot soldiers, making them more lethal, and he also transforms the Technodrome as well and makes it a more dangerous vehicle that more suits the 2003 cartoon. And he becomes obsessed in finding the universe that started it all, which in the cartoon is called Turtle Prime. This is where the Mirage Comics Turtles exist, the very first comic book version of the Ninja Turtles, and yet we see them in this movie at the end, and it like I said, it's quite a treat. It's fantastic. This movie it's just so much fun. We get the 1987 Turtles visiting the 2003 Turtles world, but we also get the 2003 Turtles visiting the very cartoony 1987 world as well. We also get the 2003 Turtles commenting on how strange the appearances of the people in the 1987 universe are, because that is one thing you can say about the 1987 series, is that the designs were very strange and the people did not look at all like human beings, even though they were drawn in an unusual way, with big heads what were too big for the bodies, and you know, like big exaggerated facial features for some of the characters. They were drawn in a very exaggerated way, and in this cartoon they actually comment on this. The 2003 Turtles comment on this. There is a scene in the cartoon when the 2003 Turtles arrive in the 1987 universe where they witness the 1987 April being attacked by some really strange villains. One is actually like a big mutated banana, and I think it's Michelangelo who actually runs up to him and defeats him by peeling him. And it just showed us once again how silly the 1987 cartoons was, even though people my age absolutely loved them cartoons at the time. We got to saw the Channel 6 news building, we got to see the old 1987 Turtle van, we got to see the 1987 Turtle blimp, we got to see 1987 version of Splinter, and for a split second we see April's best friend, Irma, as she walks past one of the scenes. There's actually loads to take in when they go back to the 1987 world, where someone of my age would be looking for these little things and appreciate them. And I suppose with it being a 25-year anniversary of the original cartoon, they've just got to include all these little Easter eggs for my generation, and that's what made this cartoon such a pleasure to watch. But if I did have one gripe with this animated movie, is that the 1987 Turtles are portrayed as a joke throughout the whole movie. The 2003 Turtles seem to get irritated a lot by the goofy antics. Even the 2003 Michelangelo, who at first sees the funny side and enjoys the silly antics of the 1987 cartoon Turtles, he eventually does start getting fed up with them as well and sees them as just a big nuisance. That's one thing I didn't like. They were portrayed as a joke, and 1987 cartoon was a lot more silly and a lot more childish, but there were also some serious tones, and the Turtles were a lot serious than how they are portrayed in this cartoon. Now that is a gripe that I have with this, but it's not a major gripe, and it didn't take away any of the enjoyment I had from watching the film. It is still a very, very good film. Now the best bit in this movie, or should I say my favourite part in this movie, is towards the end of the film, where we see all 8 Ninja Turtles, the 2003 and the 1987 Turtles, transported right back into the original black and white comic book. We see them in the original black and white pages of issue 1 of the Mirage comic book, and we get the super serious adult version of the Ninja Turtles which appeared in that first issue, and they actually help the Ninja Turtles defeat Shredder, and they also use quotes directly from the Mirage first issue. And it was great to actually see they animated this bit as well. Once the Turtles arrive in this comic book version of this universe, it's actually animated in black and white, and the Mirage Turtles are animated in black and white. It's only the 1987 Turtles and the 2003 Turtles that stay in full colour. Oh, and another thing I almost forgot to mention about this comic book universe that we're treated to, we actually see the Mirage Studios version of Shredder, which, as you may remember in the original comic books, he died in the very first issue. And in this one we see him jump up to challenge the Ninja Turtles, and then we see the 1987 Turtles actually throw trash at him and knock him off the building. So in a way, the 1987 Turtles actually defeated the Mirage Studios Shredder, which I thought was quite funny. Now unfortunately we didn't get any of the original voice cast members from the 1987 series. That was a real shame, and also I noticed that none of the original 1987 theme tunes was played at any time during this film, and after a little bit of searching online, I found out that this was actually due to copyright issues. Now, we often see the 1987 Ninja Turtles breaking the fourth wall and talking to the viewer directly, and the 2003 characters have no idea what they are doing or what is going on, and this is something that happened constantly in the 1987 series, but not something you would really see in the 2003 series, so it was funny to see the 2003 characters react to the 1987 Turtles breaking the fourth wall. Now, I mentioned before we see some of the older 1987 characters appear when they go back to the 1987 universe. What I failed to mention is that we also see Bebop and Rocksteady in the human form walk past the camera. We also see the Ninja Pizzeria, and we see the Ninja Dentist building. And all these were featured in the very first episode of the 1987 cartoon, and I thought that was really great how they added those in as well. A nice little Easter egg to us fans. And whilst we're talking about Easter eggs, there's also a scene in the movie where the 2003 Shredder activates the dimension portals, or whatever you might call it, and up on the screen you see all the different versions of the Ninja Turtles. It's supposed to be like different realities in the movie, and we actually see all these different variations of the Ninja Turtles that we know. We get to see the live action Turtles, we get to see the TV series Ninja Turtles, we also get to see different versions of the comic book Ninja Turtles, and there have been a few over the years. We also get to see some anime Ninja Turtles, and that is from the two-parter which we talked about recently, the strange manga anime style Ninja Turtles cartoon that we were treated to, if you want to say that. And like I said, these are all portrayed as different universes and different dimensions which all these Ninja Turtles exist. I mean, this movie really was a treat for all the fans out there who have been following the Ninja Turtles for the last 25 years. 25 years at that time when this movie was released. It really was just a treat. The DVD version, I believe, of Turtles Forever movie, if you buy it from the UK, I believe it's uncut. A lot of other countries have it, but it has been cut heavily, so I do recommend you try and get it from the UK if you can.